Now, it's important for me as a pastorpreneur who leads a congregation and who runs a business enterprise to have a conversation with you about the relationship, not necessarily the differences, but the relationship between your stewardship and your strategy. The one reason why I believe this conversation is important is because if you are a faith-based, Bible-based Christian believer and you want to experience financial freedom, you want to experience business entrepreneurship success, you're wanting to experience investing in wealth building expansion. These are things that you want to experience, that you are pursuing on a day-to-day basis, and you're a Christian believer. You got to understand the relationship between these two. Now, I want to establish a foundation so that you can understand what both of them are and how they are supposed to work together. So just from a practical, biblical perspective, stewardship is about what God has entrusted to you and how you manage it in your life. So whether it's something God has entrusted to you, perhaps it is someone he has entrusted to you, like your spouse or your child, even your parents or people in your community. You're an entrepreneur, you have staff or assistants. These could be people, it could be places, things, and a little bit of all the above that God has entrusted to you. If there's any person, any place, or anything that has been entrusted to you by God, He's giving you the responsibility to protect those people, places, and things. Guess what that's called? That's called stewardship. Now, again, we could go down all these rabbit trails, but the one trail we going down right here is the economic trail of stewardship. There is economic stewardship. And economic stewardship means that when God has given you gifts, when God has given you talents, when God has given you these capabilities to go out into the world and into the marketplace and to occupy space and to develop products and services and to generate revenue and to use your gifts and your talents for employment, you're a steward over those things. You didn't make you. You didn't put those things in you. Now, of course, you may have developed them over time, but they all came from God. And once you have come into the awareness of them and began to use them, you at that point are now a steward over what God has entrusted to you. So we're talking about stewardship today. We ain't talking about the spiritual side of stewardship. We ain't just talking about the relationship side of stewardship. We ain't just talking about the health side of stewardship. We talking about economics, money, business, because your financial freedom, your business entrepreneurship expansion and success as an investor and wealth builder is dependent upon your stewardship, how you manage what God has entrusted to you. Now, as a Bible believer, I activate my stewardship through paying tithes, giving offerings, being generous as a sower into other people, other places and other things, whether these are community events, whether these are nonprofits or endeavors that make our communities and our world better. That's how I participate and practice in my stewardship. I'm going to pay tithes. I'm going to give offerings. I'm going to be a blessing to my local church because I believe it is the storehouse. And I believe that the local church is the conduit through which the kingdom of God is continuing to grow and expand. And we as believers are able to hear messages and be in communities like churches where we can grow in our faith with other believers. So that's where my stewardship begins. Now, but when I'm paying tithes and giving offerings and sowing seeds and being a blessing, another aspect of my stewardship is how I manage what's left so that I'm not living above my means, so that I'm not living my life ratchetly thinking that I can just do whatever I'm grown enough to do and think God gonna bless all that mess that I do. So a part of my stewardship outside of the tithing and the giving and the sowing is, what am I doing in terms of managing what's left? So I got to live beneath my means. I can't be having this shiny object syndrome, chasing every trend and everything that I think can take me to this next level. No. And once I establish a foundation of stewardship, I've got to connect my stewardship with strategy. I promise you, out of the thousands of people, I've been a preacherpreneur, pastorpreneur for over 2 decades. So I've consulted, coached, counseled thousands of people, okay? Members in my congregation, clients. So out of the thousands of people that I've counseled and coached and consulted, I can tell you right now, there are a whole lot of people who might have one, but don't have both. Very few people master both. In other words, there are people who have stewardship, but they don't have strategy. Now, what is strategy? I want to simplify strategy from a practical perspective. Strategy is the application of your knowledge and your understanding. Okay? So for example, in order for me to implement true strategy, it starts with knowledge. I want you to understand this. I'm writing understanding. I'm saying I want you to understand. It starts with knowledge. So I can't be a steward over what God has entrusted me without connecting my stewardship to strategy. But I'm not going to have strategy just because somebody gave me 3 keys to this, or 3 steps to that, or 5 ways to do that. It's empty. It's vanity. We chasing after the wind. All you got to do is just Google steps to success. You're going to have millions of steps. 5 steps to become a millionaire. 8 steps to do this. 5 steps to do that. And guess what? There are billions of people on the planet who are implementing those strategies and they don't see any success. I wonder why. Well, for one, they're not stewards over anything. And even if they do have a foundation of stewardship, they do not develop the know-how. They don't gain specialized knowledge in the things that they want to be successful in. So if you want financial freedom, what do you need knowledge in? Financial freedom. If you want to be successful as a business entrepreneur, guess what you got to get knowledge in? Business entrepreneurship. You want to be an investor. You want to be a wealth builder. You want to be a leader and an influencer, but you ain't got no knowledge in none of this. It's just not going to happen. I don't care how good of a steward you are. Okay? So your knowledge has to be complemented with understanding. So for example, I could be talking to you right now, and you could be hearing me, listening to me, getting this information. But if you don't let that information soak and settle in, it will never convert into knowledge. And if you don't process it effectively, that knowledge never becomes understood, meaning that you never get understanding. But if you can gain knowledge and connect that knowledge to understanding, when you begin to apply that understood knowledge, you have tapped into strategy. And there is absolutely no way you will become a master of stewardship connected to becoming a master of strategy and don't see success. Now, you might not see it overnight, but you'll definitely see it over time.